Hey guys, it's Chris from Steeda, and today we have Jeff here from Obsessed Garage and his 2018 GT. A few months back, we installed a bunch of Steeda parts in this car in preparation for a track build. And well, he's had the car for a few months, so we're gonna take this thing for a spin, talk about how the parts feel in the car, and most important, have some fun. So let's dive in. So as I mentioned a few months back, we were down on Obsessed Garage installing a bunch of Steeda parts in this car, everything from sway bars to the full IRS Stop the Hop kit. Jeff, what do you think?
So far, you know, these past 3 months, getting used to the car, getting it dialed in here, it's been phenomenal so far. Like, incredible.
Awesome. Now, you were telling me you were up in North Georgia a couple times with all these parts in the car.
Yeah, I did a couple mountain runs with it so far. It's been incredible. The past cars I've had with different drivetrains, you know, this being a rear-wheel drive car, thinking I'm gonna have to be more careful, but with the Steeda parts, it's been ridiculous. It's like on rails.
Now, you said you had a Subaru previously, right?
Correct. I used to have, my previous vehicle was a Subaru, and with all-wheel drive, I feel more confident in this than I did in the Subaru.
So let's dial it back a bit. I mean, the full build obviously is coming together. You've got a bunch of parts in this car. Tell us what else you've done with the car since we last saw each other.
So after all the Steeda parts done, I did a full front conversion. So I made it look like a GT 350 500-esque. Painted the roof, you know, did some exterior mods here and there, got new wheels for dedicated track days. So slowly but surely piecing it together, the little tiny cosmetics now that I dialed into suspension.
So what's your ultimate goal with this car? I know you live pretty close to Palm Beach International Raceway, so.
So my goal for this car is, for right now, it's a streetable track car, but eventually to turn it into a dedicated road course car. So first step is suspension. So that's why I started doing all the suspension stuff, still make it drivable before we go into the big boy stuff.
And I mean, the best part about this car is that, I mean, it looks the part too. It's not only handling really well, braking really well, but it looks the part too. When you see this thing coming up in your rearview mirror, you gotta move out of the way.
Yeah, so.
Speaking of which, brakes, didn't you say you had some Hawk Performance parts on here?
So last week I just installed the Hawk Performance Talon rotors and DTC 60 pads in the front and DTC 30 pads in the rear to kind of complete the break-in period for making sure this car stops when I need it to at the track.
Now, I will say that is track oriented when it comes to pads. When we were driving over here, I heard him squealing as he's coming to stop signs. So out of curiosity, why did you go with the DTC 60 in the front and the 30 in the rear?
So I actually reached out to Steeda and asked them, you know, I gave them my suggestions like, hey, I'm gonna be taking this car to the track, and I told them like I'm gonna do Sebring, Palm Beach International Raceway, all the Florida tracks, which mainly they're straight and flat. So I have a lot of speed going in a lot of corners with these tracks. So I want to make sure these things last for all these high-speed braking.
And I mean, when you look at it, it is a Mustang after all. It is, you know, 36, 37, 3,800 pounds, depending on what options you have. So you're gonna need a lot of brake to, you know, break this car down. And I will say, keep in mind that these are track-oriented pads. Now, he is streeting them, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You are gonna get some noise. You're definitely gonna get some dust. We spent some time cleaning this car up, specifically the brake dust before this shoot. So with that said, go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. We have a full video covering the street pads from Hawk, as well as the track pads as well. You'll see that in the top right-hand corner. So you remember one of the things we were talking about when I visited Obsessed Garage a few months back was how this car, the Mustang in of itself, is a blank slate. You did such an awesome job at turning this into a work of art, something that you can call yours. Tell us a little bit more about your plans going forward into not only the aesthetics of the car, but you know, what you plan to, what's your ultimate goal?
So my ultimate goal here is just to make something my own. I've always wanted a track car when I was a kid growing up, and I've always wanted to do racing. So the Mustang's very modular as well, and is easy to work on, easy to get into, easy to learn how to drive. It's very predictable, it's confident. So it checked all the boxes for something to be my first track car.
And that was kind of cracking me up with Matt, you know, at Obsessed Garage, and how, you know, in working on this car, it kind of opened his eyes a little bit and how modular it is. It's like a bunch of Legos.
Yeah.
I mean, you could pull it apart, it's a couple bolts, pulling the whole suspension apart. I mean, we had the entire rear suspension apart in this car and back together in the course of an afternoon.
Yeah.
Ford did an awesome job at just making this car so malleable in letting the end user, you, create the car that most defines your personality. And that's what makes the Mustang so great. I mean, this car is a blank canvas. It's ready to be modified right off the dealership floor. And with parts from Steeda, whether it's suspension, Morimoto lighting, or Hawk Performance, AWE exhaust, all the awesome parts that on Jeff's car and your car at home are what makes these cars your own. And that's what it's all about. And I couldn't help but notice on the way over here, this car sounds awesome. What exhaust do you have on it?
So we actually put on the AWE track exhaust. I wanted something that sounded really aggressive, and it's track exhaust, so we're doing track things, so might as well make it as loud as we can. So it's perfect. It's everything that I wanted to be for a Mustang.
Awesome, awesome. It's definitely gonna save you some weight, replacing that suitcase resonator from the factory with the AWE system. I mean, and not to mention it sounds awesome. You can get a little bit of power out of it too, right?
Yep, bolt on, easy to use, easy to install.
Well, speaking of exhaust, let's get this thing started up and take it for a spin.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're here in Jeff's car, gonna take it for a spin. Kind of excited. I haven't ridden in this thing yet. It's got the AST coilovers and the full Steeda suspension under it. Not to mention that AWE catback, and the Hawk brakes as well. So I'm just excited to kind of feel what this thing does, just driving around the street. So, Jeff,
Go on.
So you said you still have the stock shifter right now?
Correct, yes.
All right, cool.
We haven't done that yet.
And stay tuned to the Obsessed Garage YouTube channel because they will be putting up a video installing the Triax shifter on this car. Track exhaust sounds good.
Oh, that's my brake. The squeaking is my, I thought it was something in the center console.
Oh,
No, it's my brakes. I rarely drive this car without music on, so I'm hearing noises I've never heard before. All the vibrations, jeez.
I'll be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised how smooth these coilovers ride. I was kind of expecting a harsher ride.
I was expecting a lot harsher.
Yeah.
And they're in the middle setting of like dampening.
That's not bad, given that this is, you know, the coilover kit you have is more of like a race track inspired setup. This isn't bad at all. I'm sure you feel it on like bridge joints and stuff like that.
You feel it anywhere that there's a bump.
Now, tell me a little bit more about your history with cars. Why are you a car guy? Like, what got you into cars in general?
So, what got me into cars was Need for Speed, playing video games all day.
Same here.
So, and then one of the most played Need for Speed games, the what was it called? Not the bad guy, but the person you're trying to beat had the 05 Mustang GT. So for me, it was I used the Subaru to beat the game, and to beat the game to get the Mustang. So my first car, because I really wanted to get into like my dad is big into racing, so we really watched Formula One a lot, and so for me, I wanted to get into racing and get my foot in the door and see what I can do, not professionally, but you know, just to have fun and have a hobby. So for me, I wanted to start autocrossing because that's what everyone told me to, all right, you want to get into racing, do autocross first.
It's the gateway drug.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I bought a Mini Cooper as my first car because apparently everyone told me that was the best car to do autocrossing in. So I used that to learn. Then I sold it and got a Subaru because that was always my childhood dream car, is to get a Subaru to eventually progress into a Mustang. So I had the Subaru for 2 years. I started doing track days. I got used to it. And I got bored and tired and wanted a challenge, so I traded it in, and now I have this Mustang.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing those Need for Speed games, like all of them. Hot Pursuit, Most Wanted, Carbon, Underground, Underground 2. Yeah, I'm guilty of having the Mustangs too. Never had a Subaru, kind of skipped over that one.
Yeah, good.
But,
good.
But, yeah, I can definitely associate with that. It's really cool. Everyone else playing the gun games growing up. I was always playing the racing games.
Yep,
same here.
And you know, for me, it's always progression. So I wanted to start something simple, work my way up to something more advanced, and then to me, this was the next progression step of like, okay, it's a rear-wheel drive car. You have the big V8. you have suspension that can be changed out, you have a lot more factors going in. You also double the power of most cars. So it was a lot. It's a big stepping stone for me to learn and improve myself more as a driver.
Not to mention, when it comes to power, you know, getting power out of a 4-cylinder turbo, especially reliably in a track setting, and anytime you're dealing with forced induction, it's difficult to keep that, you know, keep all that heat at bay. You know, as you start to modify and, you know, go for those big power builds.
Reliably as well.
Right. So, you know, jumping to a Mustang, you have all that power at your right foot, right off the dealership floor.
Whenever I want.
Yeah.
Reliably 100% of the time.
Now, granted, they weigh a bit more. You know, there's a couple other trade-offs. Yeah, you can go straight. There's a couple other trade-offs, but at the... Woo!
I had a feeling, like, how much of a dip was this going to be? And you stopped talking and like, this is going to be a dip.
Like I was saying, there's a couple other trade-offs to it, but at the end of the day, like, you know, we were saying, it's Legos. I mean, it's you can build it however you want, both aesthetically and whether it's a drag build like the Silver Bullet or, you know, a track-inspired build like this one. You can really do it all with these cars, or both. You know, there's some people out there that they do the occasional autocross and drag strip, and they'll throw a set of drag radials on the back and do
nice
all the drag
time.
strip.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, the tires aren't as noisy as I remember them on my car. Jeff has the Federal 595 RSRs, which is a great entry-level, you know, autocross track tire for the money, and I ran them on my car for autocross. My only downside for them, at least, was they have kind of a hum to them if you daily drive on them. But with all the other awesome noises going on with this car, whether it's brakes or exhaust, not that bad. All right, let's hear it. Nice. So the track exhaust, obviously, it's a track-inspired exhaust. It's drone is
going to be loud.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be quiet.
Whenever you see track in the description, whether it's the Hawk brake pads for track or the AW exhaust for track, you know, you're going to have a couple trade-offs for the performance benefits, and, you know, it's up to the consumer whether or not, you can make it right up here, it's up to the consumer whether or not they, you know, are willing to sacrifice a little bit of comfort for the performance you're going to get with the parts.
It's like the DTC Hawk pads. You know, you're getting that much more performance, but you're sacrificing, you know, squeak. So you're gonna have a lot more squeal, but you're gonna have a lot more brake pedal.
You know, and you really get some heat in those pads when you're on a track day, and they'll be able to take abuse all day long. But if you had the stock street pads or even Hawk's HPS 5.0 pads, I mean, you're gonna go through those that optimal operating temperature range real quick. Brake fade is not a fun thing when you're on the track. So, is there any more plans for this car at the Obsessed Garage, or?
So we're planning on. We finished the exterior. We dialed in the suspension. Now the focus is interior. So I don't know if we're going to be filming that much for the interior, but for sure, Recaros, GT350 Recaros.
Nice.
And then I want to do some kind of half cage in the back and remove the rear seats.
Okay.
And then obviously in Sync 3. And then I'll be buying from Steeda the GT350 wheel.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Steeda's actually the cheapest one. I even looked everywhere, and like Steeda's, you guys, it's cheaper than it is to go to Ford Performance and buy the wheel. Awesome. It's like $40 cheaper. I'm like, whoa. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I had the 350 steering wheel on my 15, and it felt real nice.
I just really want the red stripe. The red stripe got me like, oh, and the flat bottom.
Yeah.
Because I'm all legs, so my knees.
But I mean,
having that much space, it's worth it.
If you're racing, and I'll be honest, I get sweaty palms sometimes, You know, if the adrenaline's pumping, and you know, it helps to have that Alcantara to help you grip versus a leather steering wheel.
And having a death grip it'll hold on for your life.
Exactly. One of the big things about, you know, modifying suspension or anything like that on your S550 or any Mustang for that matter, I mean, you're always concerned about NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. And, you know, we threw a lot of Steeda parts at this car. And, I mean, Jeff, you tell me. We're having a nice conversation.
Yeah, we're having casual conversation. It's not loud, where I can do road trips. I've done plenty of 8-hour road trips in this car already, and I have no complaints.
So, I mean, you know, we do the R&D. We take these cars out to the track, beat on them all day long, then go on to, we take ours on road trips too. And just goes to show it is kind of the best of all worlds. You don't, you know, we call it a hardcore part if it is one of those parts that will increase NVH, but I mean, everything that we put on your car, this is great. And on top of that, that track exhaust, sure, you're getting a little bit of drone, but this is very livable, especially for a car that's going to see more track time than street time.
Yep.
Especially as the weather gets warmer going into 2021. So obviously you're a big Mustang guy. What else do you like? Are you into any other cars other than Mustangs?
Other than Mustangs, I'm a big Porsche person. So, you know, getting into the GT3s, you know, I look up to a GT3. I want to make this as close to a Porsche GT3 as possible, because that is the end goal. That's end game, essentially. You can't really beat that. So I want to work my way up to try to get this car as close to that as possible.
And it's crazy with the, you know, the right combination of parts. It is possible, you know, for a Mustang to keep up with cars like that, you know, that are double or triple the price of your, you know, base entry-level base model Mustang. It's got to be a pretty cool feeling to be able to chase down a Porsche like that.
Because just the amount of out-of-the-box, ready-to-go stuff you get for such a price point that the Mustangs get, I aspire to try to get either beat or get as close to, you know, cars that cost 2-3 times the price of this thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, and it's easily achievable with suspension mods.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming in. I mean, this was an absolute blast today, being able to show you around Steeda, get an update on the car and how all the parts are working out for you, and kind of talk about your past and going forward with this build. It's pretty cool to see.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me over. I love the tour. It's a great place, ginormous in facility, and can't wait for more parts to get on this car.
Awesome, man. Well, if you like the content of this video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Comment below. Let us know what you think of Jeff's build, what parts you think he should get next, and don't forget the most important thing, speed matters.